A lot of us have been raised in dysfunction. Therapy does no good for anybody unless they know what to go in there and start talking about. They're naturally going to rebel, and that's going to come in the form of drug experimentation, sexual activity, and rebelling in every other way. So please go easy on yourself if that's what happened to you growing up. How else were you supposed to react to such a debilitating pattern?
I have that battle, and I'm still battling it, but I won't let it beat me. I'm not going to get into it.
There's no shaming here. There's no such thing as perfection. My name is Danielle Yaden. CARC stands for Certified Addiction and Recovery Coach. Addiction would be also interchanged with abuse. So I'm certified in both of those areas as far as addiction recovery and abuse recovery.
Hi, my name is Sheia. I'm a mother of 3, and I live in Buffalo, New York.
Nice to meet you. It is a pleasure and honor. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. My intention is to bring comfort, articulate the dysfunction, because a lot of us have been raised in dysfunction that we might call benign, and it's actually very traumatizing. And I want to honor the devastation that you suffered behind the dysfunction. And that's my intent, to bring comfort. This is a soft place to land. I would like to consider myself a warm and soft shoulder to cry on. I'm not trying to make you cry, but that's part of honoring our pain, is letting the tears fall where they may. Just treat them like diamonds because they are valuable. A lot of people would like to think that other tears are worth more than others, especially like when men cry, everybody says, shh, he's crying. But when women cry, it's no big deal. And I want to, besides this little insert of, attempted humor, I would like to, make sure that you are in a safe place. There's no shaming here. There's no such thing as perfection. Well, what a lot of parents don't know is that there's a very precious opportunity to heal themselves with their children, for them, and through them. With that opportunity comes the responsibility to provide safety. Safety free from harm. That means free from emotional, verbal abuse, free from the obvious forms of abuse, which would be physical or sexual abuse. Also, it is their responsibility to provide food, clothing, and shelter. So if you suffered hunger, if you did not have clean clothes, if parts of your hygiene went unkempt because lack of funds, that would be trauma. It's financial trauma. The second one would be to show advocacy. Show what it feels like, what it sounds like, and how it feels, if I didn't say that already. See something, say something, do something. If there was something going on in your household that was wrong and you knew it was wrong and nobody said anything, that is abuse. The lack of advocacy shows up in the strangest of ways. If you don't believe me, look at hoarders, look at intervention, look at my 600-pound life. That's where lack of advocacy shows up. Somebody needs to show up on your behalf and do something when something is going wrong. Also, you need to go very easy on yourself if you think you have anger management problems or rage. You're not the problem. The lack of advocacy is. There is no anger if all of the problems are being addressed. One of the ways in which you are able to identify your abuse is knowing what it is and what it looks like. I'll be able to help you outline what the abuse is, because I didn't know babysitting, watching, raising my small siblings was a form of abuse. When I was growing up, it was called contributing to the household. And it's not, it's abuse, it's distortion, because you're coming to a child to do adult things. And not only that, it's very distorted to trust them with your child and not your bank account. How does any of what I said above hit you, Sheia?
A lot.
What
Basically,
sticks out?
everything. Um, basically the abuse part, because I used to watch my siblings growing up. That was a big responsibility for me as the oldest. That was my job. But like you said, it was labeled as something we supposed to have to do. It was helping out the household.
I want to help unwind all that because this isn't a household chore. Everyone needs to show up for the burdens that they are supposed to bear. And if you have children, you need to show up for those children, not their older siblings, you as the parent. And so a lot of us have been abused in that way.
I never looked at it as abuse, even though I didn't want to watch my siblings, but I never looked at it like that.
Do you see how your intuition was kicking in at that moment when you said, I did not want to watch them? Your
Yeah,
intuition
like I'm
was
like,
informing
you guys
you.
have to. Yeah, I was dating somebody. Why do I gotta date? But my mom said so. My mom said when. So I had to.
So, guess what she was also telling you when she's asking you to babysit them? She's informing you that your intelligence is as high as hers and that you actually need to have grown up conversations with her. Now, just imagine how she would respond if you want to come to the table and have an adult conversation with her when, she wants to call you a kid. But who in in their right adult mind would trust a child to watch other smaller children unless A, they think that the intelligence of that child's is up with theirs, or they're implying that their intelligence is at the level of a child's, because water meets its own level. At the end of the day, she's responsible for those kids, and somebody's going to start asking her hard questions like, why would you trust a child with your kid if you would not trust them with your bank account? If they can't even be at the table with adults and have a conversation with other adults, since that is an adult responsibility. And not only that, let's unpack the fact that having children engenders sexual activity. If she would trust you with the children, does she trust you to be sexually active? These are some good questions. Do you see
Yeah,
how it all falls down from top to bottom? This is
it's
I've
level.
never seen this addressed. Yes. This is something I wanted to address because nobody is addressing this. Nobody is coming to terms with the fact that if you would trust a 12 or 13-year-old child with something as awesome as another human being, but you would not trust them with the bank account, then where does the value of the baby fall? We protect what we value. So you
Right.
mean that you're going to stand behind a child? Is that your best foot forward? Is standing behind a child? That's what they're saying. Without saying it, I get the message because this is a mind game, and people are expecting you to be distracted by a duty. That's not a duty. It's a violation of their own personal limits because now they're making you the footstool. How does advocacy show up in your family, or how has it not shown up?
Um, to me, it doesn't show up. It shows up for certain people, but I stand my own ground. I am my advocate. So when I need to be heard, I make people listen. If I feel like I need to be protected, I protect myself. I was never protected. I was never, taught any other way but to stand my own ground. And if it was, I don't think I was actually taught it. I think I taught myself it. I wasn't taught by parents. I taught myself. Because as a child, I protected myself. I was the oldest. So I was left out. That's what I felt, left out.
Did you watch your mother protect herself?
Yes,
And how did that show up?
through abuse. So she been in an abusive relationship. and she didn't call on people. She called on herself. So when it was time to be protected, she protected herself in the midst of it.
With her own fists?
With her own fist, or I mean, sometimes the police, which they didn't do much. So one time she just decided to stand up for herself and took matters in her own hands and started fighting back. So in my life, I grew up saying I always got to fight back. So my mom fought back. Like, you don't take nothing for nobody, no matter who it is, no matter what you say. It's not their job to put their hands on you.
That is very true. And what also, what shows up for me in all that is knowing that if she had a system of what I call safe from evil, which is safety, advocacy, if she was able to practice all of that system in a relationship, there'd be no room for anybody to put their hands on her.
Right.
And so as soon as you don't have a system to a safe system, not just, acting out when a crisis arises, but a system to rely on to keep you in safety at all times, to make an infertile environment for abuse, there's no need to act out or use your fist or, involve law enforcement when you're practicing safe from evil, which I call safety, advocacy, freedom, empowerment, validation, intuition, identity, and limits. You must, if you are practicing that, then it keeps you safe from abuse, safe from, the verbal, because we all know that physical violence happens after the verbal assault.
Yeah,
and so what they're doing,
I call it a cycle.
It is.
Because when her mother went through abuse and she went through abuse, and then I grew up going through abuse. It's a cycle. So somewhere down the line, the curse has to be broken. So that's how I look at everything, and I try to be the one to break the curse.
Yes, I like to say that it ran in the family until it ran into me. That's mine. That's mine, because I've been through the verbal, the mental, the emotional abuse. I've been through physical abuse, sexual abuse. I had no advocacy. There was a family member who came and sexually violated my younger sisters, and he never went to jail over that. There was no advocacy. And then by the time we did have an attempt at going to therapy, I didn't even know what to say in therapy, because at this point, you don't even know what to advocate for. You don't know what to say. Hey, they're not showing up for me in this area. They're not showing up for me as far as advocacy. They're not showing up for me as far as safety goes. I don't feel safe. We have to lock the door on this child molester in our house. You know what I mean? There was no real support, and you don't even know to tell somebody that you're not getting in the support in the areas that you need support in. Nobody's validating my intuition. No one's validation is when your thoughts and feelings are met with understanding and compassion. How much validation did you get growing up? Did your mother listen to you, or did she trivialize and minimize your thoughts and feelings?
I was minimized.
How else would you know what to say for yourself if, they downplay real concerns that you had about your own life?
I don't know. Everybody to this day always say, you talk so loud. And the reason why I speak so loud is so I can be heard. Because I felt like I wasn't when I was a child.
Yes.
So when I was speaking and I was complaining and I was basically crying for help, I wasn't being heard. I was letting go. I started being loud, my face.
I love
my
it.
My voice can be heard.
That's your intuition advocating for you.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. So let nobody shame you over that. Live that reality for yourself, and get enough of talking loud for yourself and speaking up and advocating. That's very reaffirming.
Just out of the normal conversation, like, why you talk like, I don't even know. Because I'm so used to it. Because I was never, I always felt like I was never heard. I was never seen, I was never heard, and no one was listening.
Yes, one of the issues that we have in our community is that you don't have a voice and you are not validated unless you pay bills. Can you
Right.
imagine that? Can you imagine the prevailing feeling in your surroundings and your environment that you are less than money, that you have a price on your head and it's not worth much? That is very damaging. That's traumatizing. That sets you up for trying to get your validation in the worst ways. Mine, I could barely get a compliment growing up. And the things that I did that were worth something were downplayed. And so I spent 25 years chasing compliments and praise in the form of doing hair. I was a hairstylist for the last 25 years out of my life. And what dawned on me is that when my mom passed away, so did my thirst for praise and compliments. It started to die. It started to die with her not long after she passed away. And then that cosmic call came calling, also known as midlife crisis. Yeah, the midlife crisis hit. Otherwise, not well, it's my cosmic calling to go into the mental health field. I wanted to do it initially out of high school. I wanted to go to Spelman and study psychology because I knew that what I just went through was, the ickiest experience, but I didn't know what to call it. So I didn't know how to classify it. And part of the abuse is keeping you in the dark because it's a cheap magic trick to focus on one thing when you need to be focused on the other. No, like, how are we supposed to classify abuse when we're watching a child as if it was a household chore, when nobody's unpacking, the mental devastation it causes to require a child to do something out of their limits and then turn around and make them be a child in every way that suits them. So now that you have given them a taste of adulthood, they're naturally going to rebel, and that's going to come in the form of drug experimentation, sexual activity, and rebelling in every other way. So please go easy on yourself if that's what happened to you growing up. How else were you supposed to react to such a debilitating pattern? Go easy on yourself. Just like anger, if you have anger issues, you're suffering lack of advocacy. That's what that's all about. You're not the problem, and nor is it a problem that you have it. You're suffering. That's the symptom of suffering, is the anger and the rage.
So I just had a question. Because you said something about when you went through the sexual abuse, you said you went to counseling. Were you put in counseling by your parents?
Yeah.
So So you got help at an early age.
It wasn't help. I mean, counseling does no good. It was a stab, it was an attempt, but it does no good if a game plan cannot be met, or if it's not even formulated. I'm going in there supposed to talk to her about, I don't know. Nobody showed me safe from evil. Nobody showed me safety. Nobody showed me advocacy. Nobody showed me empowerment, good information about myself and how to operate in this world. Nobody showed me any of that. So if I don't know what safe from evil is, I don't know what to go in there and start telling the therapist.
Right.
You know what I mean? What do I tell her? Oh, they're making me, watch my sisters. Well, why would I say that if I believe and have internalized myself that that's part of my duty to do so? You can start complaining about little superficial things, but you need to know exactly what we're going in here to fix. And if you're in an abusive situation, nobody is outlining that, because if they did, this wouldn't be an abusive situation anymore. We'd be working on it. Nothing happens in this world without a fertile environment for it to happen in. So if you are raised in dysfunction and abuse, it's a dysfunction, abuse, fertile environment for that to happen. So that is why I'm here. This is my crusade to, articulate what this oppression is. That's why I'm here. To get to the bottom of it. That's why we all have depression, anger. These are the reasons, but nobody tells us why.
Right.
There's a long period of anger that you would have quite naturally when you've been suffering dysfunction and nobody honored you by telling you that was dysfunction. That was abuse. Why wouldn't you be angry? Anybody who's unadvocated for will be angry for a long period and not even know why.
Right.
Doesn't that make sense? Yes.
Make a lot of sense.
Yes, that's why people are depressed. They thought that what they went through was just, a part of life. Okay.
Thinking we already get over it, and we never did.
Right. How would you possibly get over something you don't even know what to identify as? That's not normal. That's my crusade, is to make sense out of this, unravel the mystery of this abuse and this dysfunction. I've had enough. I have had enough.
Me and you both.
Okay.
And the fact that I'm about to be at age I'm not going to discuss, I'm still going through it. And it's a fight. I fight it every day. I fight trying to be happy and be at peace. Like, I have to take mental breaks from life. Like, when I'm home, I shut myself out just to have that peace of mind for that moment. Instead of my phone ringing with bad news or drama or anything that I feel is going to break me down, I try to stay far away from it as possible at this point in time in my life. But before that, I didn't know, like you said, didn't know how to identify it, didn't know how to condemn it, didn't know how to even, I just went with it. So I thought it was life. I thought it was what I'm supposed to have done. Or, you got the devil and you got the angel, and you're facing a battle with both. Like, should I just walk away from the situation, or should I retaliate against this situation? Should I do this? If someone say I said something and I know I didn't say it, or it just could just continue on drama, I feel like I always entertain it because I have a point to prove. I have to prove myself right. Like, I didn't say that, or then I gotta dig deeper, and then it seemed like I put myself deeper into the problem. Then I'm like, now how do I get out of it? Because now I'm thinking I'm resolving it and I'm taking my name out of it. Now it seems like my name just got deeper into it when I didn't say much besides show you that I didn't say it or show you that I didn't do it. It's like a kid when you break a glass and your mother blamed you and it was really your younger sibling.
Right.
And then you're like, they did it. But then you get blamed for it because you're the oldest and you should have been keeping an eye on them. Like houseway. So like I have that battle, and I'm still battling it, but I won't let it beat me. I'm not going to give up until I figure it out.
It's the hook of blame, shame, and guilt. So anytime, let's unpack that about as far as saying something that you didn't say. Blame, shame, and guilt is the bait, and hook is the control. The control is the hook. So the minute they can blame you for something you didn't do and you go in and bite it and start attacking it like a dog, they've tricked you into the ring. Because anytime somebody is, trying to blame you something, they're starting a fight, just like fighters in a ring. They said something that rang a bell in your mind, and when the bell rings, we start fighting, right?
Right.
So part of the whole strategy at this point, now that we're adults and we can, skirt any kind of blame that somebody's trying to throw our way, is to not address it whatsoever. Not address it.
That's what I'm fighting.
Yes.
Stopping myself from entertaining it or addressing it. And I do have some people that I had in my life like, girl, just ignore it. Who cares? We know how you are. Like, we know that wasn't you. And in my mind, it's like my conscience is like, no, you have to say something. Because, like I said, it started from a child. Being an older
Yes.
sibling, and when your siblings do something wrong, mom come at me. Or,
Right.
I'm the one that's getting attacked because I allowed it when I didn't know it was going to happen. You can't
Right.
predict it, but it happened. So it's like I was always fighting to prove a point, and that's what I battle with the most right now in my life.
Yeah, when it's called a trigger. And a lot of us survivors of abuse have those particular triggers of sticking and standing up for ourselves because it was not done when we were young. So that's a particular area of our life and psyche that needs particular care and attention. And because we don't know how to address those kind of needs when they arise, when you have no healing tools, you're automatically going to employ the what I call the inner adolescent to go and fight those battles, because the adolescent is the fighter, and adult will not even dignify those kind of, it's almost like a little child when they say, I hate you, mommy. And a real adult is just going to let that baby feel their feelings and let it pass on through like a storm. But for some people who are wounded themselves, they would let a tiny little child's words, hit straight to their heart and then take it out on the baby. The baby's just, feeling their baby feelings. It's almost like, an infant slapping you across the face. They didn't mean that.
Right.
Just the
But they
same
probably
way.
just saying it because they heard someone else say it, so they want to say
Exactly.
it.
So
Yeah.
not even knowing the true meaning of the words, if we address it like it has all this weight, then now they know that they can manipulate us with those words. And the same thing as when we become adults and people say certain things that, are triggers, we assign it a certain amount of weight. And what we're all learning is that some words carry more weight than others. And if that's a particular area of pain, it's going to constantly be rewounding you. It's going to be 90% of the past is what you're responding to, because this reminds you of that. And so we're always fighting that battle of when this happened. We're fighting that battle back there, and we're never going to heal it. We're not going to heal it because we're still back there, instead of getting here present and healing everything up till now. That's another show, but just so you know, it's a particular area that needs to be healed if you're giving a lot of weight to certain things that people say about you. Because at this point,
but how do you heal it? Like, where do you
that's
start?
where the validation comes in.
Yeah.
Knowing that you do not have to fight for your reputation anymore. Because your reputation is not based on what other people think. And if you keep on giving them the authority to feel and hold the standard for what type of person you are, you're constantly going to be fighting against that. But when you heal it, you know that it means nothing. What people say about you, it means nothing. But if you're constantly needing approval and validation, like I said, you're always going to be in the fight. And that's where the healing comes from. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because I'm my biggest critic. So
right, because you've been taught that.
Yeah, so I put myself down a lot. Like, oh, why did I do that? Or should have thought better, or something that I know that was not brought on me intentionally, or was, and I reacted towards it. The next day I'm soaking it like, I can't believe I just even entertained the BS, or I can't believe I even said what was I thinking, so I always second guess myself about that, or I critique myself a lot about it. So I put myself in my situation the most now, for the people that abused me in my past, is now the one that, I'm not gonna say they pray, but they more, confiding me more, let me know I'm worthy now. But I felt like it's too late because when I needed it, I didn't get it. And now I feel like I'm stuck in a way that trying to work out, and I don't feel like I'm not getting that successfully in regards to
When I was 22, I had just had my first child, and I'd had enough of the verbal abuse. It was a diatribe, actually, coming from my mother about how stupid I could possibly be for having a child with no, marriage, no real prospects, no way to support myself. And, I got everything. It was almost as if she was trying to grind my soul into powder and just blow it away. That's how I felt. And so I moved to a whole nother city, and without knowing, like, presently in my mind, I did that so I could go re-raise myself and listen to my own thoughts and not the thoughts of these people who would think that I'm very stupid to have a child without a father, and you just don't think about anything, do you? I had to get away from those thoughts, and I had to go re-raise myself, and that was like the beginning. It was my attempt at healing myself, and also knowing and being around other people that did not think as harshly of me as my own family did was quite a relief and a comfort for me. And knowing that you, in your words, through a negative lens, is not the only truth that can be told. It can also be, I'm not at the level I want to be, but I'm not stupid either.
Right.
There's a positive narrative that you do get to use that's just as valid, and it's not called sugarcoating the truth. Because even that term in itself is demonizing the positive by trying to paint it as something as if we don't deserve positive narrative in our life. That we need to be dripping with positivity instead of hanging on to the negativity. Use your experience to inform your wisdom and not inflate your grief. That's what this is. And so if we started there, my next question would be, why or how do you justify speaking harshly about yourself? Like, for instance, what was